Hello and welcome to the Everything is Black and White podcast. It's time for the view from the opposition, and this week it comes from a familiar face, Lewis Williams, a Luton fan and vlogger. You might remember Lewis from the podcast we did just before Christmas when Newcastle travelled down to Luton and lost to Luton. I did predict that. Unfortunately, this time around, I'm going to go early, Lewis, with the prediction. The same thing is not going to happen. Newcastle are going to have a smashing day on Saturday, unfortunately for you, but we'll get into the reasons why I think that's going to happen in a moment. First off, thank you for popping back onto the podcast. Hope you're keeping well. Have you had a good Christmas and all that?
Yeah, it's been really good. Results in football-wise are doing extremely well. So yeah, can't complain.
I
Out on the
realise
out on
I've
the
just,
out on the bottom of the three as well. So you can't. Yeah,
well, I
certainly
was going to
can't
mention
complain.
that, yeah. And I've also just realised I've just asked if you've had a good Christmas and we're a month and a bit after Christmas, but it's never too late, is it? But yes,
It's
you
fine by me.
guys, you guys come into this game in good form, out of the relegation zone, as you've just said there. Did you expect about the relegation zone, coming into February?
Um, to be fair, I didn't know if we were going to be in it. I didn't have. I honestly, this season, I've just not expected anything. I've just taken it by game, week by week, and whatever happens, happens. We know we're up against it in terms of the quality, in terms of the money that's in this league. But honestly, to be where we are, it's a fantastic achievement, if I'm being brutally honest with you. And yeah, long may it continue. I'm super happy. I think results. I see the performances have been there since December, but maybe we just haven't got the points to reflect that. Whereas now we're starting to get these points in, and it just feels a lot much better now.
For you guys who aren't watching on the YouTube channel, Lewis has got a smile from ear to ear. He's absolutely buzzing. Clearly, Luton's form of late. Last 6 games, they picked up 10 points, and they're coming to this game on the back of a 4-0 win over Brighton, which I don't think anyone would have predicted. Tell us about that game and how they got the better of one of the better teams in the league.
I think just an aggressive approach, just not giving Brighton any respect. I think we all know what Brighton can do when you give them time and space on the ball. So try to limit that as much as possible and just go at them for the first, 15 minutes. And obviously scoring 2 goals within 3 minutes, the perfect start, really. And then it's just trying to get those goals that kill the game off. I don't think they like the aggressive, part of our game, which we can bring. And I've always said, we're not going to play like Man City, like what Burnley are doing, because it's just not going to get us points. But we are going to play it our own unique way. We can be aggressive. We can, be just big lumps. And we can play a little bit as well, because our third goal, I don't know if you've seen it, was pass and move play. And, it was those 1-2s and we clean through on goal, 1-on-1 finish. So we can mix and match it. We can go long when we need to. We can go short when we need to. And I think Brighton just couldn't handle that. And it just shows you the progression which we've made since the start of the season, because they beat us 4-1 at their place. And so there's already been a massive improvement since the start. And knowing Luton's previous history and record, we always get better in the second half of the season. So long may it continue.
If I remember correctly, in the first podcast that we did together, you did say, that the performances had been there. I think we were talking about the Arsenal game and maybe was it the West Ham game as well? If my memory serves me correct about
So
being.
Arsenal, Man City, yeah, those two home matches, especially Liverpool as well.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So,
playing against the top six sides, we were performing really well, but we just weren't getting the points.
so what's clicked now in the weeks since we last spoke? How are Luton now turning those good performances into wins?
I think you're just getting those standout players really. I think firstly I think the players have realised actually we can play at this level. We can cause teams problems at this level, and I think it's just giving them the confidence that what you can do it. I think players have, are gelling together, especially the new ones which we brought into the summer. Some of them have been standouts, Ross Barkley, Lokonga, Menji as well in the defence. Those players are now stepping in and performing a week, every single week, getting 7 out of 10s at least. And yeah, just a range of things, just keeping it going. we're causing teams problems through set pieces with our aggressive approach, and you know, I think it's just keeping that going. Really, I think the boys know what the task is. There's a real togetherness. There's obviously, I think, what happened to Tom Lockyer. There is like a bit of motivational factor in that to, we want to do it for Tom Lockyer. So yeah, all those different range of things. I think that's what's you're now seeing, and yeah, that's why I think you're now seeing Luton outside the Premier League bottom three.
And of course, the other thing as well that helps with confidence is good results as well. And if you want a run of picking up points, like we say from the last 6 games, 10 points, the last 6 away games, 5 points, so they're in a good run of form, and that will just further inflate their confidence that they can stay in the Premier League.
100%, and I think as well when you see like other teams, like for example Burnley or Sheffield United, when they lose a game of football, the fans are, they're booing, they're not happy, they're expressing their concerns. When Luton lose a game of football, the fans are still staying in the stadiums, they're still giving the players a round of applause, and I think that also gives a message to the players. You know what, these supporters are going to stick by us to the very end, and I think that also helps in regards to performances, in trying to replicate the previous one.
I think our listeners will kind of understand what you're saying there about that kind of united feeling from the terraces into the dressing room, because Newcastle United fans have been through it tough as well. And the thing that always got them through it was the fact that everyone was pulling together, and the fans are always there. You mentioned there the aggressive nature against Brighton. Is that how you expect Luton to show up against Newcastle as well?
I think if we do replicate that, I think we can get a positive result. I said to like my dad, and I said it to my close friends, if we perform like that, and I know it's not going to be possible because no teams can keep replicating the same thing, otherwise you'd be title winners. But if we can replicate that performance against Brighton, against Newcastle, like we did against Brighton, then yeah, there's no reason why we can't walk away from a tough place to go, in my opinion, and with a positive result. A draw is not a bad result for us. You know, I know a lot of people may have a different mentality, but my mentality is any away game in the Premier League, or I was saying it in the Championship, even, if you get a positive result away from home, that's fine. You can't complain with not losing a game of football. So that would be the aim. Obviously, we're going to try and make it really difficult. If we can try and score the first goal, get the crowd against us, and try and create that toxic atmosphere like we did against Everton in the FA Cup recently, then yeah, there's no reason why we can't walk away from Newcastle with a positive result.
Is part of you wishing that this fixture may have come a little bit earlier for you? Like, a few weeks ago when Newcastle were right in the depths of this horrible run of form, they seem to have come through the other side now. A victory over Fulham, a fantastic performance and win over Aston Villa. Things, fingers crossed, are on the turn for Newcastle United, and maybe this game hasn't come at the right time for you guys.
For me, I feel like it doesn't matter when you play against a team. You've got to play them eventually. You get a bit of luck. Sometimes you don't get a bit of luck. If you want to stay in this division, you've got to beat the teams in the division. It's simple. I know it's very narrow-minded, but that's exactly what we've got to do. So I rather actually, I think when we last obviously beat Newcastle, a lot of people could have said, "Oh, you didn't play the strongest Newcastle team." Well, I want a bit of respect now, and if we do beat this, stronger Newcastle team, then we deserve the respect which we should have got previously, if that makes sense. So yeah, I
Definitely.
just want to, I'll play whoever's on the pitch and try your best to get a positive result.
Do you know, I agree with your answer there, because I really dislike it at the start of the season when they go, oh, that side's got a tough run to begin. So you've got to play everyone at some point. There's no point complaining about the card you get dealt. You get on with it. But I think one thing's for certain, the Newcastle United fans who were down at the away fixture definitely respected what Luton did, because there was just more fight about Luton than much more than Newcastle United had. And they embarrassed Newcastle, if I'm being brutally honest. And one man who stood out above all else was the man who you predicted would do so, Ross Barkley. I mean, I saw people saying it was like a testimonial for Barkley. It was that easy for him. I mean, I suppose the answer is going to be the same, is it? Is he the man that Newcastle have to stop this time around?
Yeah, I think also Lokonga's come into his own, and I think he had a quite of an underrated, under the radar like kind of start, because he got injured quite earlier on, and then he's come back into the team, and then obviously Ross is always going to get the plaudits because he's got the quality and it stands out in front of everyone. Like for me, I think he can get into a lot of Premier League teams currently right now, especially on the form he's under. But Lokonga, I think he's coming into his own. I don't know. Again, the goal, he assisted one of the goals, our second goal against Brighton. It was a long ball over the top, and it was pinpoint. It was absolutely fantastic over the top, straight to Ogbeni, who was clean through on goal and managed to score. He's coming along now really well. But yeah, Ross Barkley is the glue. And it does worry me if he does get injured in the second half of the season. That's when we're kind of it's going to be a lot more challenging for us. But if we can keep him fit, keep him doing what he's doing, allow him to be him. Because we're not doing anything special with Ross Barkley, believe it or not. Yeah, he's playing in a much deeper role than a number 10 in his previous years, but we're just letting him be him. Simple. I like it when managers make things simple. I think we overcomplicate football at times, and doing things simple, we're getting the best out of him.
Definitely one man that Newcastle are going to have to keep quiet. And in the same position for Newcastle, we have Bruno Fernandes, probably Newcastle's best midfielder, but he's one booking away from a suspension, so we probably will see him a little bit, I guess, stuck in many ways. He's not going to be able to dive in like he usually does, and that'll probably play into Luton's hands. I mean, is he the man that you're most fearing, or is there anyone else that springs to mind?
It was Isaac. But then obviously with the injury coming off against Villa, would he start? Would he not start? I don't know what's been said. I heard, I think Eddie Howe after the game said it was something minor, but obviously they need to investigate. I don't know if there's been any more news about that, but he's one player who I'm scared of a little bit. And also Gordon, because even in the last game when he played, he caused us all sorts of problems because of I think I referred to him as a little rat last time out, and I still think he's one of those players where if he's on your team, you love him. If he's not, you hate him. And yeah, so it's always going to be for me, Gordon and Isaac. Obviously, Bruno, what the quality which he's got in the midfield, of course, he's going to cause so many problems. And I like those types of players who keep getting yellow cards because you can wind them up. And we've got players in our team that probably will suss that out quite quickly. And I think that he could be a particular target, which we try and, let's get him on a yellow quite early doors.
I mean, that is probably Bruno's biggest weakness, is the fact he's very easy to wind up. We're recording this on Thursday afternoon, and you guys will be watching and listening to it on Friday morning, so it'll come out before Eddie Howe's press conference. But we don't think Alexander Isak will be involved at all against Luton, and it might even come a little bit early for Callum Wilson as well. I think there's a strong bet that'll be Anthony Gordon up top. He can do the job there. He's done it for England under 21s, but I think it's detrimental because Anthony Gordon's best when he is out on the left, but unfortunately Newcastle have got no one to turn to. So it's going to be interesting to see the start on 11. In terms of the way Luton will approach the game, are they going to want the ball? Are they going to sit off Newcastle and invite them on? What can we expect?
I think it'd be very similar to the previous game, if I'm being brutally honest with you. I think we will try and be aggressive when we can. I think if with Gordon potentially being that player up top, I think we may be a little bit more braver. I think in terms of in possession going forward. I think out of possession, I think we've been a lot more braver out of possession. We've been going like man to man recently, and we've got the pace. Osho, Menji, Amari Bell, so they can handle Gordon if he in a one-on-one. Although I don't like the sound of that, but they can potentially do that, or a 2v1 situation, whatever you want to call it. So I think we will be a lot more braver in this game compared to last. And obviously the confidence in our last two victories, going into this, there's no need for us to back off and allow Newcastle to play Newcastle's football. We don't want to do that. We want to frustrate you. We want to get the first goal. And then it'd be like, right, now come and break us down, and then we can just counter you, or we can be aggressive then, or we can play for set pieces. So, yeah, I'm expecting an aggressive approach. Keep this aggressive approach which we've got currently. And, yeah, just try and, first 10 minutes, get that first goal.
Yeah, I think the first goal will be key. And like you say, if you guys can get an early one and maybe try and rattle the crowd, it definitely could play into your hands. I mean, the last game out, as I said, I mean, Luton embarrassed Newcastle, in my opinion. But what was the difference, do you think, on the day? And can that be replicated on Saturday?
I'm not really too sure, to be honest. Like I said, like the performances prior to the Newcastle game, we were performing well. We just wasn't getting the results, And I feel like sometimes some games it's your day, and some days it's just not your day. And I think that particular day, it was just our day. I think obviously Newcastle not being fully strengthened, obviously went into our favour, but you know we just got the job done. And obviously in this one, we just need to just keep going, just keep this momentum going, keep performing well, and we know we're not safe yet, so we've still got something to fight for.
I'm just looking back at the team that started for Newcastle that day, and people might say it's not fully strength, but it was still a very strong team. And most of the players who started that day will start on Saturday, you would think. I mean, poor Lewis Miley, who's just signed a new deal, and he has really been the shining light in what has been a difficult 6 weeks, 2 months for Newcastle United. He was taken off before half time in the first fixture. I'm hoping that he can put that behind him in this game. He certainly has done in other games. But do you think that might be the other kind of weak point that Luton might try and take advantage of from their point of view, from their analysis, that they might try and target Lewis Miley again?
I'm not too sure. I think that in the previous game, I do remember Trippier. He didn't have the best of games. He wasn't stopping crosses going into the box, and I think we really targeted him for some weird reason, because I do think he's quite a good player. So he had a really poor day. Maybe that there was a particular reason why we did that, and maybe in this game coming up, we'll do exactly the same. Let's target Trippier, because he was obviously the massive weak point. And then if we're putting crosses into the box to our, two strikers in Alabaya and Morris, and then we've got players outside the box in Lokonga, Barkley or Clark or Ogbeni, who are going to be like there just in case the ball bounces to them, then that's what I think the plan will be.
And are you expecting any new faces ahead of the game, just transfer deadline days when we're recording this? Are you expecting any new arrivals to come in before the game?
So we've already signed a Japanese player from the Belgium league called Hashi. I'm not going to try and pronounce his actual full name, but that's the nickname which obviously Luton fans are going to give him. He's an attacking right wing back. So we're really looking forward to seeing how well he can do. He chose us over going to the likes of Leeds or going to the Turkey League. So he was a wanted man, and he's young, 24 years old. So and I think Japanese football as well has been massively improving over the last couple of seasons now. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing him play. We are expecting one or two players today to sign. I think attacking players as well. So it's just exciting times. Luton, we try and keep our transfer business as quiet as possible. So you see all these like well-known journalists, they always tweet out the rumours, and then the transfer happens 2 weeks after the first rumour tweet came out. Luton, we try and keep it under wraps. I don't know how we do it, but we managed to do it. Barkley did not came out of nowhere. Will we get a signing like that today in the last couple of hours of the window? I'm not too sure, but whoever it is, we'll be excited for. And you know, anyone who's been watching the Luton story or know about Luton, our signings are the reason why we're in the Premier League. We have a very smart recruitment plan. Players, from League Two have stepped up to the Premier League. So we could end up signing a Championship player who's probably an awful player in a Championship side, but ends up being an absolute superstar in a Luton team. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm pretty sure we're going to get judged heavily on whoever we bring in.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at you, you're so happy about the way things are going. And if the mood in the dressing room is half as happy or optimistic or as positive as you're coming across, Lewis, then I suspect it's a very nice place to be.
Yeah, I just don't think negativity, like, being down, it just doesn't help, does it? Especially when you're a team that is probably going to lose more games than they win. You got to try and just keep the spirits up. We have one player in particular at Luton called Paddy Ruddock, who's been at the club for I think nearly 10 years now, or I think just over 10 years. He's a club legend, but amongst the fan base, he gets mixed reviews because of his playing ability. A lot say he's not a Premier League player, he's not a Championship player or whatever, but his personality, he's like the key, he's the glue in the dressing room. He's the one which, he's the banter man. He gets everyone laughing, he gets everyone going. You take someone like him out, there's a massive hole. So he keeps like everyone together. He keeps like the team spirit. And the one thing that's going to keep us up this season is our togetherness within the squad. You need to have a good attitude. We don't have these players that, are late to training or, going to cause too much hassle like your Marcus, your Rashfords, for example, who are going out nightclubbing. We don't have that at Luton. Well, if we do, they keep it under wraps quite well. We just simply don't. So when you've got good players with good attitudes, hard working, who want to achieve, who want to do well, who want to prove themselves, you've got a recipe there of a club that could go in the right direction.
And I actually think what you've just mentioned there about the spirit and the fight and the togetherness, that was probably the difference in the return fixture that was missing from Newcastle. And that, funny enough, is what Newcastle's been built on as well. Egos aren't really running wild at St James's Park. It's all about the togetherness. When the recruitment team sign a player, it's not just about ability. It's about how do they fit into the squad. It's about how do they apply themselves away from the game. And, everything that Newcastle has been known for in the past 2 years was missing down at Kenilworth Road. So hopefully it'll be back for Newcastle this Saturday. We've seen it against Aston Villa. It was certainly back. A fantastic performance for Newcastle there. I'm looking at your top scorers and obviously the Brighton game. You got Adebayo. Is he the man to stop, do you think, on Saturday? We've mentioned Ross Barkley's the key man, but Adebayo seems to be hitting a little bit of form.
Yeah, he's got the best shot conversion in the Premier League. So if he has a shot on target, it's most likely going to go in at the moment. Yeah, he's been massively on form. At the start of the season, he had mixed opinions again, even from our own fan base. A lot of the fan base were like, "No, he's not a Premier League player. He isn't quite doing it." But then Morris got dropped, and then Elijah Adebayo started games up top on his own, and you're seeing a different type of player. He's just got this. He is a confidence player. So if he misses a one-on-one chance in the first 5 minutes, it's going to affect him. It takes him quite a while to go, get back into the game. But when he's on it, and he causes so many problems. He's, tall, strong, good with the ball at his feet. Not many big strikers are good with the ball at their feet, but he is. He can get past the player. So yeah, if we give him the service, we give him the opportunities, he will cause problems, and he will make sure Newcastle centre halves are not having an easy day. You see what Ollie Watkins was like for Villa. Even when Villa are not performing, he just needs an opportunity, and that's what we're trying to convert Adebayo to. Okay, if you don't get the ball within the first, if you're not having much of the ball in the 90 minutes, when you do get the ball, what can you do with it? Can you cause an impact? Can you get a goal?
Yeah, another man for Newcastle United to keep quiet. And I guess, away days like this, Lewis, is what every Luton fan and probably some of the players have kind of dreamed of. I know they've been to big arenas already this season, but for many, St James's Park is always one they look at as an away ground they want to travel to. There'll be some excitement about going up to the northeast and facing Newcastle at St James's.
Yeah, of course. For Luton fans, it was a fantastic away day out when we played you guys in the FA Cup. When we were the League Two side, I think it was like 7,500, 8,000 Luton fans made that journey. I was one of them. Going up in the coach, it was fantastic. It was a great day out. And it's up there as one of the best away days for me. Probably top 10. Still, still to this day. And obviously, I know for Newcastle fans back then, the atmosphere probably, we're only playing against a League Two side. But this time round, it's Premier League v Premier League team. The atmosphere would be better. Obviously, our allocation's a lot smaller. I think it's 3,000, 2,500, whatever it is. I'm sure we're going to sell it out. We're singing our numbers up in the gods there at Newcastle. And yeah, hopefully the boys can hear us from up there.
Yeah, it's going to be a great day. Hopefully, a bouncing atmosphere from all corners of the ground. And I guess the message, Lewis, just before I ask you for your score prediction, is that Newcastle just can't underestimate this Luton side because they're showing they can really mix it with the big boys in the Premier League.
100%. Even if a team goes 3-0 against us, we saw it with Chelsea when we played them just before the Canada year started. They were 3-0 up, and then we just went, you know what, we're just going to go at you. And then we got 2 goals back, and then, with 10 minutes remaining, who knows what could potentially happen, and that's all we need. We're not going to give up. So that's the one thing for sure is if Newcastle are going to win, they have to keep going. Don't drop the level. You keep the same level going. Otherwise, you're going to get punished because that's all we need. We only need a little bit. You could be dominating a game 2-0 after 60 minutes. Your centre half makes a mistake, we go clean through, we score a goal. That's it. The game's changed from that moment onwards, and that's what we thrive on, and that's what we love.
That leads us nicely into the final question then, Lewis. How is Saturday going to go?
I would love something. I do think you are going to win. I don't want to say that because we are performing extremely well at the moment, but I just can't underestimate how difficult it is going to Newcastle. It is a tough place to go to. Your home form is better than your away form. It's that there's a particular reason for that. So I think I'd be over the moon if we get a point. I really would, but I think it's going to be like a 2-1 or 3-1 to Newcastle.
Yeah, I'm backing Newcastle United to win. Brilliant against Aston Villa, and they seem to have got a bit of momentum following wins over Sunderland and Fulham, and they were very good against Manchester City as well. They just run out of steam in the last home game in which they lost 3-2. My only concern is whether Anthony Gordon, if he does have to play up top, can he be potent enough? Can he take the chances? Fingers crossed he can do. But also, I'm keeping everything crossed that Callum Wilson might somehow be available, but I'm sure you guys aren't. Lewis, thank you once again for popping onto the podcast. It is much appreciated. To you guys watching and listening, hit subscribe, follow through whichever platform you're joining us on, and head over to chroniclelive.co.uk for all the latest Newcastle United news. For myself, I'll see you very soon.